Well, hello and welcome to another episode of the Legal Gym Podcast. I have an extra special episode for you today. Today, I'm going to be talking with a very special guest. This is a person who launched a e-commerce business, a subscription business. She grew it to multiple six figures in revenue in 2 years and then was able to sell it and exit. And she did an amazing job. She's going to go through her entire experience here today on the podcast. She's going to talk about things she did well. She's going to talk about some of the mistakes that she made along the way. Wink, wink. One of them might have to do with trademarks. And then she's going to be talking about what she's doing now and how she's learned from her experience and put everything she learned in this e-commerce brand to use in a new business that she launched just a couple years ago. So for the show notes for today's episode, which will include all of the links and resources for everything that we're going to be talking about today, make sure you head on over to hawthornelaw.net/Kerrie. That's spelled Kerrie. Once again, that's hawthornelaw.net/Kerrie. Let's go ahead and get into today's interview. All right, so I'm here today with Kerrie Fitzgerald. Kerrie is the founder of Kerrie Fitzgerald LLC, which is an e-commerce and product business consulting and educational agency, and host of a top 100 marketing podcast, the Six Figure Product Business Podcast. As a digital marketing expert, Kerrie helps e-commerce businesses to create wildly in-demand brands that their customers are obsessed with. Her unique framework stems in organic marketing that brings in consistent sales and traffic without focusing a dime on ads. I love that. I can't wait to hear more about that, Kerrie. After starting her first high-end pet e-commerce business, the Dapper Dog Box, in 2016. She grew that business to multiple six figures in revenue in 2 years without funding, staff, or support, and successfully sold that business in 2019. During that time, she was featured in BuzzFeed, Forbes, and Mariah Carey's Christmas Guide. She is a proud boy and dog mom, hot sauce and coffee lover, and is an East Coast transplant living in Seattle. So, Kerrie, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. It's great to have you.
Yeah, I'm so excited to chat with you again.
So, where do you want to start? Like, you just have such an amazing story of what you've done, and just going back and rereading your bio there, you built this business, the Dapper Dog Box, from basically nothing in 2 years to multiple six figures. You don't have a staff. It sounds like you did most of this by yourself, if not all of this by yourself. You didn't use paid ads. Like, that's crazy. That's like, it almost sounds too good to be true.
Yeah. And when you say that, I'm like, I sound like a crazy person. And now, like, because I started that business in 2016, and obviously, I have come far in terms of like, okay, you need to outsource, you need to get rid of the stuff off your plate that, is not your zone of genius or is like a waste of time. So, yes, I did everything on my own, and I don't recommend other people do that. Yeah, but the business journey was such an like exciting one, and it was fun to start something, an idea that popped into my head at the gym. I had just had a baby, and I was like, what do I do with my life? I want to do something different. After doing corporate marketing in higher education for like almost a decade. And yeah, so starting the business, and I always say it was like an MBA plus like 5 years of work experience, starting your own. And like you had your own e-commerce store too. You just like, you learn so much, and you have to just really figure out so many things. And yeah, I'm always grateful for that business. But I think in the end, I'm also very grateful that I sold it, and now I get to help other people either start or grow their own businesses, without using ads, and just really relying on leveraging your customers, like creating this awesome experience for your customers. And so they have no choice but to like come back for more, buy more from you, refer friends and family, post about you on social media. And that's one of the key ways I grew my business. I didn't have ads. I didn't have a team. I had to just figure out, okay, how do I take these scrappy resources and get people to keep buying from me, and get people to post all over, like post about my brand on Instagram at the time, because we didn't have TikTok then. So yeah, just being really scrappy, being creative. And the biggest thing that I really did was create community for my customers. I made them feel super special, part of something bigger. Once they bought from me, I didn't just send them one email like, oh, thanks so much, like, thanks for your purchase. I had really robust like email marketing sequences built up. I had customer referral programs where I would incentivize people like, oh, does your friend want one of our products too? Like, you can win something for free. So yeah, people are always like, did you really grow your business without ads? And I really did. It's just like, you have to be strategic and scrappy and creative, but it totally can happen.
So well, that was a lot to digest. So tell us about like how did you come up with this idea? You obviously you've got a dog, you love dogs. Clearly, I don't know why anyone would do a business like that if they didn't love dogs.
Right.
And so you came up with that idea. Were people like asking you like, hey, or were you talking to friends and they're like, oh, this would be a great idea? Or did you see someone else doing something similar? You thought that's a great idea. I could make that better. Or like, how did you really come up with, I assume what you were doing, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, was kind of a subscription service where once a month people will get a box of dog stuff. Is that kind of what it was or something similar to that?
Yeah. So it was sort of like two. So I had a subscription box where I would give customers treats, toys, accessories for their dog. And then I also had an e-commerce store where I would sell like one time, like you can buy a toy, you can buy a bandana. And I really like another thing that I did, and I'll talk about like what started it, but one really strategic thing I did was like almost like the Birchbox. Do you know Birchbox? Maybe your
I have heard
wife.
of that. Yes.
That, yeah.
Or like Dollar
So it's
Shave
like,
Club was another
yeah,
one.
it's a one of the first ever subscription boxes in the beauty space. And what they did was like, they leveraged their subscription box subscribers to actually sell like the one-time full-size product. So you get Birchbox for $20 a month, but oh, did you love the shampoo that you got last month? Now you can buy the $30 bottle with, obviously they have huge margin. So that was like the business model. It wasn't actually the subscription box. And that's kind of what I did. I was like, okay, I'll get these people in and then I'll sell them like one-time things and do a lot of upselling and things like that. So anyway, so the early start of that was no one was asking me for it. Literally, I had a baby, moved to California for my husband's job. And I was like, all right, I had just like literally left this amazing job where I got paid to travel the world and recruit international students. And I was like, I'm ready for something different. I don't really know what to do. And literally was at the gym and the idea popped into my head. Like, you should start a subscription box business. I literally had never once thought of it ever before. Never. Like, it literally just the idea popped into my head. And I was like, oh, interesting. And I was like, well, like I'll think about it. And I was like, well, maybe I'll do like a baby subscription box. I had just literally, my kid was 6 months old. And I was like, you know what? Not my jam. And I was like, maybe something in the pet space because I love pets. And so I started thinking back to my dog, Asha, who was like the face of the company. She's a black lab shepherd mix. And I was like, when she was a puppy, I got her a bark box, which is like the leader in the pet subscription box space. I was like, I got her a bark box and I didn't like anything in it. The packaging was ugly. My dog was on a grain-free diet and they didn't offer any grain-free treats. And it just was like kind of janky. Like they gave like a crappy toys. And so anyway, so now fast forward years later, I'm like, okay, I kind of love the idea. And I know that I can take a different angle and spin on it. So I essentially thought of the idea at the gym. Let's say it was like a Tuesday. It was like about 7 years ago, like today probably. And I was like, let me do market research. And I don't even know how I knew how to do all these things. Like, it was almost like, I don't know. I feel like the universe was just like giving me some guidance or something. Cause I literally like had never had a business before. I had no mentor, no coach, no one telling me what to do. And so I did market research. I had my spreadsheet. I had like every single subscription box company, their key selling points, their value proposition, who I thought their ideal customer was. And I thought, okay, there's a gap in the market. There's no one who's doing high end. There's like, everyone's trying to race to the bottom with like their $20 a month crappy subscription box with like, just everyone's trying to be the cheapest. Like, okay, Bark Box is $30 a month. So we're going to be 25 a month. And then the other person's like, we're going to be 24 a month. And I was like, no, I'm going to be the most expensive one. There's no high end. There's no one who's doing like organic treats and high quality. So I was like, okay, there's my opportunity. And I thought, okay, there's no one who's doing accessories like dog bandanas. And I have been putting bandanas on my dog literally since the day that I brought her home. And I was like, that feels like my little window of opportunity. And so I talked to people. I did, I did validation, product validation. And, initially I was like, I kind of want to do a subscription box with like pet stuff and stuff for the dog parent. Like, oh, maybe we can give them like a towel or something. And every single person I talked to was like, no, we don't we don't want the dog mom stuff because we don't want stuff in our house that accumulates like clutter. You know what I mean? And I was like, that was one of the best.
Dogs don't let that happen. They just rip it all up.
No. Yeah. So that's the beauty of like a pet box is like they either eat the treats or they rip apart the toys and that kind of thing. And yeah.
I don't know if you can see that, but this used to be like a stuffed animal. Now it's just dead.
Yeah, exactly. So that's like the beauty of that is like there's stuff that gets consumed or ruined. Where if you send like, dog towels, I don't know why I keep saying towel, but like a dog mug or something, you end up with clutter. And that's why people cancel. That's the first reason why people cancel subscription. Like we have so much stuff, like stop sending me stuff. So anyway, so I did market validation and everyone was like, no, we don't want the stuff for the humans, just the dogs. And we love the bandanas. So I was like, okay, cool. That's my little angle. And so, yeah, I launched it as like the most expensive, higher end. Everything was super high quality, like, organic treats, all natural, beautiful, trendy bandanas. So I really looked at what was available right now and where I could fit in, but be different, because I knew like, I don't want to be doing the same thing as everyone else. So that was sort of where it started. I got the idea literally. And a week later, I was sitting at Starbucks in Irvine, California, working on my little logo of my dog and ordering stickers. I don't know why I ordered stickers, but that pops out in my memory as like ordering stickers and, being like, I'm doing this. And I was absolutely like, once I have an idea about something and I'm into it, it's like, I'm in 100%. And I launched the business in July of 2016. So a few months later, I launched it. And yeah, I mean, that just random one day at the gym changed my entire life. Literally. It's so weird.
So how long did it take you to go from idea to launching? It was like just a couple months. I mean, there's a lot of work of what you did. Like, got to source products, got to come up with packaging. Unless you didn't actually purchase any of those things until you had paying customers.
No, I didn't even, and I would advise people to do that now. Like, you don't have to sell stuff, you don't have to buy stuff without selling it first. You can actually do pre-sale and all that. Yeah, actually, I forgot that in some reason in my head, I'm like, I think it's March right now, but it's still January. I came up with the idea in March of 2017 and I launched in July. So a few months in between. And yeah, it was a lot of work, but I loved it. Like I dove into the process just like, because I had a baby and had a bit of a hard time after I left my job. We moved across the country and I feel like it was like my fresh way to have like a fresh start. But I loved the beginning days, like coming up with the packaging and like, figure out how do I get my first product. And like, I love those early days, which is why I love helping people start. I love working with people to help start their business because it's just like an exciting moment that like you kind of don't know, is this business going to change my whole life? Maybe it won't. Maybe I'll just shut it down, but like maybe it will. Yeah.
So what'd you do? Like just go to like PetSmart and like find some things that you thought were really cool, or did you go someplace else to source this stuff, or how did you do that?
So I basically came up with the idea and then like serendipitously, there was I forget what it was called, but it was essentially like a pet expo in the town that I lived in Southern California. So obviously it's like a big hub for a lot of expos and things like that. But there just so happened, I think in like April or May of 2017, there was like a pet expo. I think it was called Family Pet Expo. I don't know why it was family. And it was basically this whole place of vendors. So I went there with my crappy little business card that looked really, really janky. And I just went up to people and I was like, I'm launching this pet subscription box and e-commerce store. And I remember asking people and I was saying it the wrong way. I was like, I'm looking to like, I forget how I phrased it, but I remember a bunch of people looked at me like, oh my God, she's an idiot. I said something like, oh, I'm looking to like do wholesale or something. I was essentially trying to ask them like, I'm looking for products to put in the subscription boxes every month. Would you be interested in like, can I get a wholesale account with you? I just didn't know how to phrase it. And people like were sort of like, all right, she's an idiot. But that's how I got my first few vendors was at this pet expo. I just walked around and chatted with people. And the first person that I sort of got her business card, got some samples. She like is a friend of mine today. She was the first person I ordered a product from. She like drove it dropped it off at my house in Southern California. But yeah, that's kind of how I did it. I did a lot of research in terms of like, I would go to really fancy. So in Southern California, there's like a lot of really high end pet stores. So you go in and it's like, you pick up a toy and it's like, oh, like $30 for a plush toy that my dog's going to rip up in 5 minutes. So it's kind of like those types of shops. I went into there and I figured out what are the brands that they're selling. Because they're not going to be the brands that you buy at like PetSmart. They're going to be high end boutique. So, and that was my customer. I was looking for the person who had zero problem spending $60 on like a matching collar and leash set for their dog, because that's just what they care about,
Yep.
So I did that. And then I went to the pet expo, and then I went to, again, like every timing is everything, honestly. In July of that year, so the month I launched, there was Super Zoo, it's called. It's the biggest pet expo. I think it's in the world, but I'm not sure if it's in the world or just in the US, but it's like the biggest pet expo, and it's in Vegas. So I flew to Vegas. My husband, my son, we went to Vegas and walked around. I met a ton of people, ton of, event suppliers, vendors, brands I could partner with. And that's kind of really how I got my first good set of people that I would end up buying from for the next, 2.5 years. And, understand, how do you negotiate? How do you like figure out pricing on the things? And it was just amazing. It was so fun. I loved it so much. But yeah, the Super Zoo Pet Expo was like kind of a game changer for me, because I truly saw like the vastness of the pet industry and like just getting connections with people. And yeah, so that's kind of how I figured out product to buy, from just going to those events. And then, then I learned more about, there's lots of websites like wholesalepet.com where you can just sign up and you can order products. But I quickly had to realize I had to really figure out how to negotiate on things and be very aggressive. And I'm not like aggressive with things like that, but I had to be like super aggressive. Like, okay, I'm going to buy this many units, but I want free shipping. And what do I have to do to get the price down? Like, can I do marketing for you? Like, I would just offer, like, I'll promote you in the, like in the email for that month. I'll like highlight your business if you give me an extra discount. Like I would try to like leverage my skill set in marketing to like get people to give me more discount and stuff. And, it actually worked really well. So, yeah, that's kind of how I got started. But yeah, it was a big learning curve, but I loved it so much.
And then so you launch, and did the sales just like roll in, or did that like take a while to get there?
They didn't roll in. Like I wouldn't say like, oh, I had a six-figure launch, not at all. I mean, I think I wish I had my stats in front of me. Maybe like I made 2,000 my first month,
Okay.
1,500, like something like that. It wasn't a huge launch, but for me, I was happy that anyone purchased from me. For me, it was sort of like, okay, I like hit launch on the store, and I sat there like refreshing my browser 25 times, just waiting for people to kind of buy. And they did. Like, I did a really good pre-launch in hindsight. I sent a lot of emails. I created a lot of anticipation. I got people excited. I did a ton of like behind the scenes on my Instagram, and like really leveraged my email list. So, and like my background was marketing. So that's where I knew a lot of stuff, but I remember telling my best friend, I think I'm going to start this like subscription box business. And she was like, oh, really? And I was like, well, I love dogs and I'm really good at marketing. This should be so easy. And I always think about saying that, because like I was obviously very naive. It was not easy, but with marketing, like I really understand how to take a physical product and make someone want to buy it, because my background again was marketing and sales and higher education. So I was selling, $30,000 a year education programs. So I knew how to like talk to people, and like I would fly to Indonesia and talk to parents and like not convince them, but like I would sell them this program of studying in the US at a school in Boston. And like, I was good at that, and it's because I'm also really honest, and I tell people like, I know how to talk about key selling points in a really like good, easy way. I don't know. So I kind of did the same thing with my pet business. I really knew, how do I, pop into the head of this like fancy dog mom and sell her this subscription box. So I wouldn't say it's easy, but I will say I am good at selling pet products.
So how did you find these first customers? You said you did kind of like pre-launch ahead of time on Instagram. I mean, how did you get people even on your email list?
So when I first was doing like my pre-launch, I really sold on, or not sold, like I really leveraged Instagram. So that was like my big thing. I had no idea how to use Instagram before that. But yeah, I just started doing sneak peeks. I would share like vendors I was going to be working with. I started doing giveaways. And then one thing that I did that really helped me was I was reaching, and it's kind of different now. I feel like the influencer space has changed a lot, but I would reach out to a lot of other dog accounts and just be like, oh, I'm launching this business. We would love to send you product in exchange for, if you could maybe take a photo and post it on social media for me. Da, 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 da.
Oh, that's so
So
smart.
I did that actually. And like now, if you try to do that to people, they're like, oh, sure. Where can I send my invoice of like $2,000 to? So I feel like things have changed a little bit in terms of people doing content creation for free. But I've never even 7 years later, I've never once paid anyone for any kind of like influencer type of relationships for like any of my clients. I always can figure out ways just to get it for free, which, no offense to the influencers, but yeah, so that really helped me because that would get my product in front of other people. And like, one of the things that I also did well was like, I knew that I had to create an awesome customer experience, because if I create this awesome packaging, like the box design, that when people see it on social media or a blog post, my product will stand out against all my competitors who have really ugly, boring brown packaging. And so that's what I did from day one, was like I made my packaging look really pretty. It was like this lavender box with a black dog as like the logo, and it looked really pretty. And then fast forward a year later, when I basically spent months designing a new box, and that was like my little work of art. It's still one of the things that I'm most proud that I've ever done. I designed this incredible box where when you open it up, it has like stuff on the inside. And it was essentially like I designed my packaging for social media. And that really, the second I launched that new packaging, my sales completely went straight up, because every single
Wow.
time one of my customers, so I would leverage my customers, incentivize them to promote me on social media, because I would have a contest every month where people would win free stuff, but you had to post the box on Instagram or Facebook and you had to tag me. And so I would get all my customers doing that. So I'm getting free advertising from all these people. Then their friends and family or followers are seeing the pictures of the box and they're like, oh my God, that's the cutest thing I've ever seen. I need one too. So that's what I'm saying. Like I really like was leveraging my customers to be like my brand salespeople for me, kind of thing. But it started with the packaging. Like the packaging had to be really good to create this awesome customer experience. So
I know you sold the business then in 2019. Are they still using that packaging with the
I
business? Are
think
they still even in business?
I think they just closed. So I know that the owner had sold it to a different person, because they had once reached out to me, like they were locked out of their Facebook account. And I was like, why are you messaging me? I haven't had the business in like 3 years. Um, but yeah, I feel like when I sold it, or when the second person sold it, I don't know what happened, but I started to hear people tell me like, oh, like they're having customer service issues. And so I don't really know what happened. I didn't like talk to the owners or anything, but yeah, I think they just closed, because I recently went to the website to look at the press page, because there was a picture of me and my dog as like the founder, and it was no longer there. So yeah, so I think they closed. But yeah, I think they were still using the same packaging. But like when I did the packaging, I had them printed in California, and then the most recent owner, I believe, lived in like, I don't know, like Montana or something, or I don't know, somewhere. So but yeah, I think they used the same packaging. But yeah, the packaging was like, it was so good.
Well, I want to see a picture of this. You might have to send me one. I can put it in the blog post with this podcast. But
I will.
yeah.
Yeah, I loved it. I loved it.
So I have one question, and I want to talk more about kind of what you're doing now today. But the question is, so when you did all this, and I feel like we talked about this before, but I can't remember. Did you actually go and get your name trademark? Did you do that? Obviously, I got to ask. It's a legal trademark show.
No, I did not. And I know that we talked about that because you're going to be in my podcast, which is coming out soon. I did not do that. And that was like we talked about, that was a huge mistake because that almost, almost. So when I went to sell the business, I was working with a business broker and we found a buyer quite quickly. And like that, the fact that I didn't trademark almost cost me the sale of the business because there was some issue with the logo. I don't remember what it was, but there was some weird little issue with the logo. And like, they had to double check with their lawyers to make sure that it was okay. So big mistake. I won't make that again.
Do you think it cost you money in the sale, the fact that it was not trademarked?
I don't think it cost me money, but like it almost,
it was stressful.
It was stressful because it was like, we were right at the end. We were right at the end. And I was like, oh, I'm going to have freedom in a few weeks. This is going to be great. I can get rid of this damn business. Yeah. And for a minute, I literally thought like, they're not going to buy the business now, all because of a freaking trademark. So, but I don't recall if it cost money. I think they did take some I think I had to pay some of the extra legal fees. So it may have cost me a couple $100, maybe.
Well, when I meant money, I meant like, did they reduce the price, or do you think you could have demanded more of a price had it been trademarked?
Probably.
It's hard to say.
Yeah.
You never really know, right?
I think you probably can, because I don't know, like, you know more than me if that's considered like an asset. I think it probably is.
Probably is.
I probably could have gotten a little bit more from it. Lessons learned.
Yeah. Now that you're saying this, I am remembering that that's what we discussed. I couldn't remember if you said you did or didn't, but yeah, now I'm remembering. Anyway, so fast forward, so you sell the business, and then you're free of the business, and now you have to move on to something else. So tell us about what you're doing since 2019 till now. What have you been building, and how are you doing things today?
Yeah. So I took a little bit of time off after I sold the business, just to kind of like, initially I thought I was going to like get a corporate job, like, oh, I want to have balance in my life and I'll just get a 9 to 5. And that didn't quite pan out. And so I was like, well, I'll just start a blog. And I started blogging about the business. And like, I was like, I learned all these things. I figured out like how to grow an affiliate marketing program. I figured out how to like grow Instagram from nothing to like 42,000 followers. Like I figured out a lot of different things, and I wanted to show people how to do the same. So I started my first blog, and then I was like, oh, I kind of want to create a course. I want to teach people how to start a subscription box business, because I had to figure everything out on my own. It wasn't very fun. And I started doing that kind of stuff. And then I officially launched my business, like my current business, in January of 2020. So right before COVID. And yeah, I've sort of evolved the business a bit in terms of what I like doing and what I don't like doing. I was doing one-on-one coaching at first, just helping people grow their e-commerce or subscription business. And it's kind of evolved into me creating courses, doing group coaching programs. I'm working on a business book right now, which I just sent to an editor, and I'm really excited about it. Yeah, I kind of am like very multi-passionate. I'm like, I kind of want to start a tech company where I could help people start e-commerce businesses like in a really easy way. So yeah, I kind of do a lot of different things. I truly like, there's two things I truly love, and I'm really focusing on is helping people start an e-commerce business. So people that could be doing a variety of backgrounds, but they see opportunity in something. They want to sell something. So I love helping people in that startup phase. That's my favorite. Like, that is where I just get lit up to help like work with people to start. And then also, once people are a bit more established, like they're making sales, I like to teach people, how do we, just like I told you about my strategy, how do we like leverage what you're doing now? So you actually work less but sell more, because you're leveraging your customers, you're leveraging marketing strategies that work for you, not the other way around. So things like affiliate programs, customer loyalty programs, referral programs, email automations, and SEO. So those are things that are all my jam. And I love teaching people how to implement those, so you actually scale without spending all of your energy on like social media.
So I don't know where you were when I was just starting out, because I definitely could have used you when I did my Amazon business, but you weren't there yet. So going back to what you said you're writing a book. So that's pretty cool. Are you self-publishing, or is that the way you're doing it? So you just said you just sent it off to an editor. So I assume you hired an editor to do that for you.
Yeah, I've been working on it for an entire year. I came up with the idea 2 years ago. The book's called Customer Obsession, and it's essentially like how do you create these like tribe of customer super fans for your business by being like obsessed with your customers, essentially like knowing who they are, treating them well, customer service, creating an awesome customer experience, involving them with your brand, like all those things that I figured out kind of how to do. And I figured out those were the things that actually continue to help me get sales. And I think those are things that people kind of just forget about. They just, all they do is say, okay, I need to get a new customer, but they don't like nurture their current ones. So yeah, I'm working on it for an entire year, and I literally just sent it to an editor that I found on Upwork like a week ago. Feels like moving in the right direction. But yes, I'm self-publishing. I have written a kids book, self-published last or 2 years ago. So I that got my feet wet with like, how do you self-publish something? So, but I'm super excited. It's like, I'm so passionate about that kind of stuff. And I'm really, really, really excited for like what it will be. So
Yeah, I'm actually working on my third book right now. So I did one like maybe 7 years ago that was just it wasn't very good. It wasn't terrible, but it probably is what helped me with YouTube, because a lot of people downloaded it from Amazon and then found me on YouTube and went from there. But then I wrote a another book about divorce, because in a former life I was a family law attorney. And so I wrote that maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and I still get referrals. Still people call me because that book is out there in the ecosystem. And so right now I'm writing the third book, and this one is on trademarks. And I don't have a name for it yet. I have a tentative name in the back of my head, but I'm not definite on it yet. But yeah, let me know about your editor. If your editor works out well, I'm probably going to need somebody here in the next couple of months.
okay. Oh, that's so cool. So did you use an editor at all, or you just sort of wrote and got it out into the world?
The first book I didn't do anything with. The second book I did use an editor a little bit. I didn't have a great experience with her. She didn't really do what I was asking her to do, so I did a lot of self-editing, and then also I have my wife do a lot of editing for me too, so that worked. But this time I think I'm probably going to hire somebody to at least do kind of like line editing, where they like fix my grammatical mistakes and things like that. So and then probably also have my wife help me again with this one. So yeah.
Is she like a teacher or like?
No, she's a lawyer
or...
too. She's a lawyer just like me, but so she'll pick it
Okay.
apart and tell me, that I put my apostrophes in the wrong place, which I always do. And that's fine. I probably need that. Yeah. So grammar
Yeah.
was not my strong suit in school. I can tell you that.
Oh my
Absolutely.
God. Not, yeah, same for me. I send typos and emails all the time, and people will be like, oh, you spelled that wrong. And I'm like, don't care.
I tell my wife, I'm like, listen, I don't care about the grammar. I just want you to tell me, does it sound good? Like, that's all I care about. And
Yeah.
she's
Yeah.
like, no, we got to fix this.
I hear you. Well, that's exciting.
Yeah. And that's exciting for you too. So when are you anticipating this book is going to be ready and is going to launch?
I mean, I don't know, like, assuming the editor person works out, because I don't know, like, again, I'm finding someone from the internet. So who knows? There's only so much faith you can have in like someone like that. I'm trying to do it a little bit cheaper this time with my kids book. I hire this expensive illustrator, and then I basically launched the kids book, and then I was like, oh, I'll market it later. And I still haven't quite done a great job with marketing it, because it just always it was more like a passion project I did with my son, and it always feels like it just gets put to the bottom of my like massive to-do list and priorities. So this time I was like, okay, I feel like I'm going to do it a little bit more cheaply. I don't want to use the word cheap, but like affordable. I don't know. But yeah, I'm hoping, I don't know, maybe in Q2, Q3. That's
Okay.
kind of my goal. It's my goal. I like, to be honest with you, my goal was to finish like the writing part, the first part in August. And then I didn't finish it. And I was like, okay, well, I'll finish it in November. Didn't finish it again. And then I like in November, I was doing like launching new things and wanted to take time off for the holiday. So I just like took a break from it for 2 months. And then last week I had blocked off probably giving way too much information, but like I blocked off my calendar last week, and I was like, okay, putting my head down. I'm working on the book literally for 4 days in a row. And I went to a coffee shop last Tuesday, sat down to work on it. And all of a sudden it was like, I'm like ready to finish. Like I'm ready to wrap up this stage where I didn't feel like that before. And so I literally was like, okay, by Thursday, you have to finish, do the best it can be. And then you have to find someone, I don't care who it is, to help you with editing. And so that's exactly what I did. I gave myself like a strict deadline, but I wasn't ready before. I don't know how you felt when you were doing it. Cause for me, this has been such the hardest thing I've ever done, like by far. And it's like so overwhelming.
So I guess you'll appreciate this from a marketing perspective. So when I did my divorce book, so the first book I did, it was kind of like a fable. It was like I was teaching people about how to start a business from the person that does a good job of it and the person that doesn't do a good job of it. And so that's how that one was. And it was okay. For my divorce book, I did a lot of the writing myself, but then I brought in like 4 or 5 guest authors, and each of them were referral sources in my market. And I asked each of them to write a chapter, not like a long chapter. I mean, none of them wrote like this 30-page like chapter, but they were, 4 or 5 pages, a couple thousand words, of, something different, a different aspect of the divorce process. And so that took a little bit of time to get that all together. And then once the book was done, the manuscript was done, I probably edited it for like 6 months. I would go back, I'd read sections, I'd edit it, and then I'd read more sections, I'd edit it, and then I'd go back and I'd edit it again. And it was just, I couldn't stop editing the book. Like the book was done. I just couldn't stop it. So
yes, that's exactly what I've been doing for months. And I'm like, okay, like, yeah, just like what you just said, like you just go back and you just go back again. And you're like, I'm reading the same thing 25 times in a row and like changing one word. And that's exactly what I've been doing. And so that's why when I sat down on Tuesday, I was like, okay, I'm suddenly feel ready to like wrap this damn thing up. So yeah, we'll see. Like I said, I've self-published a kid's book, which was a learning process. So I'm hoping this one feels a little bit easier, just in the sense of like, now I know how to go through like Amazon KDP and like all that kind of stuff. But yeah, like what a learning curve, but also so fun. And I just think you always hear people, oh, I have a book. And I never thought like, oh, I'm going to do that too. But I don't know, like, I think if you have a good strategy and a good framework to teach people, like it yeah, it can just be amazing. So I'm excited.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And having that book under your belt it's just going to give you so much more credibility with your business and probably lead to more referrals, and that's going to be great. So yeah, I can't wait till that launches, because I would love to get a copy. So you said when you first started your business, you were helping people kind of one-to-one coaching. So who do you help now? How can people find you if they'd be interested in hiring you to help them? I mean, are you doing group coaching, or is it more, are you still doing one-on-one, or who are you helping now?
Yeah. So the only one-on-one people I work with are actually people who are like, I want to start an e-commerce business. I need a bit of guidance and like hand-holding. So I actually do coaching with those people. And then I do some group, like I'm launching a program now called the Cultish Product. And it's like a little bit of a controversial name. I can't say that word. But it's basically helping people like to create really strong loyalty with their brand and their customers. And so that's for like more advanced people that already have an e-commerce business, like they're already getting sales. So I kind of do a lot of different things, but essentially like, yeah, I do have one-on-one coaching, and I'm actually starting some kind of a self-paced course for people who want to start and launch an e-commerce business. So I'm working on that in tangent of all the other things that I'm doing right now. So, yeah, I'm not sure if that makes sense, but I feel like I'm like kind of all over the place, because I do really have like these 2 people I serve, and I always try to just choose one, but I love helping people get started. So that's just, I feel like I'm a little bit more passionate about that, to be honest. But I do help people if you have an e-commerce business and it's like more of a high-end luxury brand, like you're my people, come find me. I can definitely help you with some of your marketing, but people can find me on my website. It's kerriefitzgerald.com. Instagram is a great place. I, will always chat in my DMs, and it's kerrie.a.fitzgerald. And then I, have TikTok and all the other things, but I would say those are the 2 easiest ways to people to find me.
And Kerrie is spelled with a K and an IE, correct?
Yep.
K, 2
RRIE.
R's,
Yep.
and IE. Yeah. Yeah. Cause my, I lived in Cary, North Carolina, spelled very differently. So, Cary.
And people
Uh,
always think my name is Kerrie, always.
isn't your name Carrie?
Yeah, yeah, but people always think it's like spelled Carrie. So whenever I go to Starbucks, or if people write my name down, it's always with the Carr. So I don't know if I have like a funny accent, but
My my wife, and this is a quick tangent. My wife, so her name is Donna, and in here in Portugal, Donna is like the name for like it's like a woman, a
lady.
woman, yeah,
Yeah.
like a lady is named Adana.
Yeah.
And so they'll ask her what her name is, and she says Donna. And this is specifically at Starbucks, which we don't go to very often because there's not one close to where we live. But if she goes to the mall, she'll go to Starbucks, and they always look at her like she's crazy. And they're like, and then they put down some random name on her cup because they don't think she's
Really?
telling. Yeah, it's weird. And she's like, no, my
God.
name is Donna. And they don't get it because nobody here is named Donna. That's not a thing.
Oh my
Anyway,
God. That's
yeah.
funny.
But all right. Well, Kerrie, this has been fantastic. I love what you're doing. I congratulations on the sale of your business. I'm excited about what you're doing. And obviously you've got the book coming out. So I'd love to hear when that launches so I can tell my listeners about that also. So anything else you'd like to share with us at the very end that you want to, any words of wisdom you'd like to give to people who might be thinking about starting an e-commerce business before we head off?
Yeah. I mean, if you have an idea, like go for it. It can be so easy to get started. Choose something that solves a pain point for someone, figure out like, is it a hobby that people like? There's so many opportunities for product, but it can really grow into something huge that you can sell, and why not? So my advice is do it.
Awesome. All right. Well, Kerrie, thank you so much for being with us today. I guess we'll talk again at some point in the future, I'm sure.
All right. Thank you so much for having me.
If you are interested in learning more about how to legally claim the rights to your brand, then you're going to want to schedule a free branding strategy call with me. That's right. For a limited time, I'm offering a free strategy call to talk with me about the branding for your online business and how to make sure it is legally protected. So if you'd like to learn more, head on over to hawthornelaw.net/tm-video. Once again, that's hawthornelaw.net/tm-video. On that landing page, we have lots of great information about the process of protecting your brand so that you don't have to worry about getting a cease and desist letter or being forced to rebrand your business at a great expense. Once again, that website is hawthornelaw.net/tm-video, and I look forward to talking with you soon. All right, all you Legal Gym listeners, now that you know a little bit more about Kerrie Fitzgerald and everything that she is all about, you are ready to implement, because if there's one thing we love to do over here at the Legal Gym, it's to take massive action for your business. So if you haven't already, make sure you check out the show notes page for today's episode. You can get a rundown of all the links and resources that we talked about here by visiting hawthornelaw.net/Kerrie. That's spelled Kerrie. hawthornelaw.net/Kerrie. That's going to be the home base for all of your legal and business tools and resources to help you start, build, and of course, legally protect your very own online business. Thank you so much for listening today, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Okay, so I recorded that episode with Kerrie, and then I went back and listened to everything I recorded after the show, and it was too good to not include in here. So here's what we recorded after the fact. So that was awesome. Thank you so much. And what you said at the beginning, like the way you mapped out like all the competitors and what their value proposition was and the pricing and everything, like that's exactly what I teach I didn't want to talk about that, but that's exactly what I teach my students in my OB Foundations mastermind group. Is that exact, like clearly you have that marketing background, and that was super smart, and finding the price point, and man, that was just, it sounds like you did everything right with that business.
I did a lot of things right, but I also made so many mistakes. I mean, and I'm I'm an open book about the mistakes that I made. And I always tell people like, I'm open about my mistakes so you don't make the same ones, but yeah, and it's funny because so many people that I work with that are either early stage in their business or they're new, no one does that stuff that you just said. Like, it isn't like that's this common thing that people will do. People just jump into like, oh, I want to sell, I don't know, something. And they just like assume that they know what people want. They like, I don't know. And people the foundational stages, So yeah, I mean, I think, and that's one thing I always make, even if you have a business and it's not working, I like make people go back and do that stuff because that's where you find the little like pockets of opportunity, you know?
Well, and like you said, how you validated your business by asking people about it, right? And then
Yeah.
realizing, oh, you could have wasted a ton of money buying stuff for dog owners, dog moms that they were they were going to hate, and then they might cancel the subscription.
Yep.
So, I mean, that was really smart. But let me just ask you, so what was the biggest mistake you think you made with the business? If you could go
Um,
back,
I
we all make
think
a lot of mistakes. So,
I think like not I should have charged more money for things, like not focusing enough on profit, not outsourcing. Like, you know, I know you were in Rick's program, like he always talks about like the $10 an hour tax
mhm,
tasks. Like that's pretty much all I did all day. I spent, even though I know marketing and I'm good at marketing, I actually spent not enough time marketing because I was spending all my time packing orders, going to the post office, doing like all the things in my business and not working on the marketing part of the business. So that was a huge mistake. And I know I could have grown the business more if I had not spent so much time like packing orders. And because I was like, oh, no one else can do this. I'm the only one who could ever pack a box in the perfect way. It was so, so stupid. Um, and not finding a mentor. I mean, that probably is like the top of the list. At one point at the end, I tried to finally find someone. And I remember this person who worked for a competitor of mine and he wanted to charge like some crazy amount of money. And I just was like, I was so afraid to invest. I didn't invest at all in the business. And now I'm like, oh, you can help me with anything here. Take all of my money. Like I kind of went the opposite direction with my current business in terms of like investing when I probably shouldn't.
mhm.
So yeah, not investing, not finding a mentor that could have just helped me. Um, you know, like, you know how it is. Like you have to have someone that can just answer questions. So I think like, and also just not having community. I didn't join any kind of like memberships or coaching programs. And so I felt like super isolated for those 3 years. And it was very like it completely affected like my mental health and all that kind of stuff. So I would say those are like my big mistakes. I made a lot of them. Yeah. I mean, wasting money on things that I didn't need, like,
But you're right though. You learn when you start a business like that. I mean, it is like an MBA in like 6 weeks, right? Like you're literally learning everything on the fly. And that's the way that was the experience I had when I had my little Amazon e-commerce business for like 2 years. Is I learned a ton. Now, mind you, I wasn't able to sell it. I just ran out of inventory and didn't restock, but which was fine because I didn't get those long-term storage fees anymore. So yeah. But anyway, this has been great, and I really appreciate you coming on and talking and being my first guest on the show. So now, do you work only with women? Is that right, or no, men too?
no, I mean, I generally attract females, but I have had some. Well, actually, I think I've only had one male client ever.
I feel like your marketing said I work with women. I feel like
Yeah,
that's where I
yeah.
got that.
I try to like stay in a lane, but like in my membership program, I think there's like a couple males in there. Like I'm not gonna say no, I can't work with you.
Okay.
Um, but I think with marketing and trying to like have messaging honed in, I do say like females. But yes, I work with anyone as long as you're like not an asshole. I'll work with you.
Well, that's good. Okay. No assholes. They got the no asshole policy. That's fine. So
Yes.